All right, so I was asked to do a video on, hitting uh, a wall bag and how to use it, right? But you can also apply it to a heavy bag or focus mitts, right? So it's not just limited to this. But so what I wanted to go over is, first of all, it's not there's different ranges that you guys should be practicing. Okay, so the first thing is the first range is being close enough to the target where your arm is still in a 70-degree angle. So you don't want to be too close, right? Now I'm in like a 90-degree angle, right? This is too close, right? You don't want to be too far because then because now I can't practice the body going in. Okay, so I want to work on the feel of my mass going in. So this is before you even extend the punch, right? So this is the dropping of your mass into your elbow. So weight, it's connection in your body and to the floor. Then you go in weight distribution and angle change. And now when you angle change, then you're going to, at the very end, you're going to drop, right? Drop your hand. So see how my hand is very relaxed. Okay, so my hand position, I don't want you to be tense like this. Okay, so what I want you to feel like is like you're holding a raw egg, an egg, and you don't want to crush the egg, but you want to support the egg. You want to hold the egg. Okay, so I have this kind of hollow part in my hand, in the middle of my hands. Okay, and then I'm just relaxing the hand, but you want to work on removing all the gaps in your wrist, right? So I'm not vertical like this, right? So when I drop, okay, because then the pressure once I start to put my pressure in, my body frame in, then it's going to make my wrist do this, okay, which could hurt me, right? So what I want you to practice is when you drop, your wrist is already in this position, right? So that when you land on the pad, all your hand is already in this kind of bent position, right? So if I have my two hands here like this, it kind of makes the shape of a heart, right? So from here, I just take one hand out. So it's like this, okay? So my wrist is slightly bent, see? Okay, so it's not vertical like this, right? Okay, because then this can kind of tweak your wrist. There's too many gaps in your wrist right here, right? So I'm going to remove the gap like this and just drop, okay? Drop at this angle with my wrist bent, okay? So I'm not even, if you look at my elbow, when I do this dropping motion, my elbow is not moving, okay? So it's not going, it's not pushing the hand down and then pushing the elbow forward. So it's kind of like that. Now you see my elbow moving, right? As I'm dropping, right? It's getting farther away from my 1/5 location from my hip. So this is now what I want to practice, okay? I want to practice just landing my mass, right, into the pad. So as soon as I touch, as soon as I drop my mass, right, then from here I'm going to bow my body, and then you're going to feel your mass connect to my hip and my heel connect to my elbow, right? Now I feel my hand is getting very, very heavy, okay? Because the wall's not moving, right? So there's a wall here, and I'm creating a wall with my body frame, right? So my arm is kind of like the thing that's stuck in between these two walls. So my body structure frame is pushing into my elbow, and that's causing my forearm and my hand to press against this wall bag, right? And of course, it's supported by the wall behind it, so it's not going to move, right? But I feel all my weight and all the gaps close in my hand, right? I'm primarily, when I drop, I'm hitting with the entire fist, And then when I enter my body frame, I'm basically it's collapsing to the bottom three knuckles, focusing on the bottom three knuckles, right? Okay. So initially I touch with the whole fist, but even though my wrist is bent, see? Okay. But then when I add my body frame and add leverage, right? Then you're going to see my wrist kind of it angles because my force is going my pressure is going into my hand now, and it's forcing my hand to do this. Right? So cut at an angle. See, so if I had a sword in my hand, it would want to cut across like this. So you see it's going like that. Okay? So I land, and then when I put the body frame in, I come to here. Right? Okay? Now my wrist is in a very, very there's no more gaps in my wrist anymore. Okay? And this is what you want. You want no gaps in your wrist. You don't want no gaps in your body frame, and you want no gaps to connection to the floor, right? So everything is becoming gap free, right? But you're trying not to use so much of your physicality. You're trying to just use the alignment of your skeleton and your joints and your tendons, right? To create this gap free environment, right? Okay. So I'm dropping my relaxed hand. You see my elbows not reaching, right? It's just hinging, and you see it's just rotating, right? And then you see from here, my body's also rotating. So you see the body frame when it levers, okay? When the body frame levers, that's what's causing my hand to drop, okay? You see that? So it's not just drop the hand like this, okay? So it's weight distribution to one side, angle change, and then from here my arm should be in 70 degrees, and then from here I'm creating leverage and bowing my hip and my frame, and when I do that, that's going to cause my hand to drop, and as soon as it drops, okay, you should feel pressure in your forearm and your hand, right? You should also feel the pressure in your hand. You should also feel the same type of pressure in your heel, right? And then from here, right? See, so now I'm bowed, and what's the word I'm trying to say? You should feel this connection from now the pressure. In other words, the more you feel your elbow and your frame pushing into your hand, the more you should feel the pressure going down into to your heel. So you should feel your pressure, your connection going out and down at the same time. And that's, of course, because of Newton's law of motion, which is for every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. Okay? So you don't want to just push, right? Because then if you only work on the action, then the reaction when you hit something hard is going to go right back into your shoulder, and then that's going to make you lose your balance, right? It's going to go through your shoulder like this. So if you connect the force going out to the force going down, then you create a solid platform for your force to go out, right? Which is the ground, right? The connection to the ground. Does that make sense, right? So from here, right? So weight distribution, angle change, and then bow your body, and that's going to make you drop the heavy hand, right? And hinge off your elbow. See? So all I'm doing is from here, see my weight distribution, right? Then my angle change, or my weight distribution. Now my angle change, right? And then when I finish angle change, now I'm going to bow my body. See? And then when I bow my body, right? I'm going to connect that action to my elbow, right? And that's going to drop my hand at the same time I'm bowing the body. So the hand dropping and the elbow rotating is created from the action of the bow of the frame, right? So the frame is what's causing my hand to drop. It's not my hand dropping like this, because now I feel my shoulder activating. Right? This is kind of, now I feel like, it's like if I had a small weight here and I drop it, well then of course your shoulder is going to have to work, right? So if you do that, if you do it this way, see, leverage is causing this action. So the more the hand drops, the more my body frame underneath it is catching it, right? And supporting that action, right? Okay? And of course, you don't want to, we already know that bowing the body and moving the joints. So this is moving the joint, okay? That means I'm leaning back, right? Or I'm pushing forward, right, with my hip. You can see the mirror over here. I'm pushing the hip forward. This is all wrong, right? Okay? So if you look at my shoulder and my heel, right, when it bows, the shoulder and the heel are in the same line. The hip will go forward a little bit, right? And that's why I call it a bow, because your body makes this kind of bow shape, right? So the middle will of course go forward a little bit, right? Okay, as you bow. But you see the shoulder and the hip, or shoulder and the heel, right? They don't move from their position. They only rotate, right? And so shoulder's rotating, hip is rotating, and the heel is rotating, right? And even your knees are gently rotating. So everything is working together, right, to cause this. And then, of course, the frame extends to our elbow. So even our elbow now is rotating. But if your elbow rotates, then the hand, because of the linkage of the body, the way it is, the hand should drop, right? Because of the elbow rotating, right? If you're going like this and you bow, but your hand doesn't move, right? Then your elbow is the hinge in your elbow. Then you're not bowing you're not rotating your elbow, okay? The elbow would be in a fixed position, and then I bow, see? My hand wants to go up, right? And we don't want that, right? Because now the hand is connected to the elbow, and it's just locked. You're almost locked in a position, right? This is not good, because then force is going to start to come into your upper body. We don't want that. So when you bow the body frame, which will bow the elbow, because the elbow is an extension of your body frame. So if the body does something, your elbow has to do the exact same thing. So bow, and then your hand will drop, right? Like that, okay? So this action now, you're just practicing that, but when you drop, you're actually hitting something. So now it will also condition your hands, and you can also start to really learn you can feel the pressure going into your elbow and into your hand. So everything is like a spring. It's compressing really, really hard. So this is good for your body, and this is also good for your understanding, because now you can feel the connection and the line that I keep talking about. The line from your hand all the way down to your heel. It creates this kind of invisible line, but you can feel it, right? If you do it in the air like this, then you can't feel it. There's no feedback, right? But if you actually touching something and you're doing this, now you get a feedback. The pressure in your right here when you make contact, right? You can feel the feedback, right? And then the feedback will tell you where is there's force going out into your hand, but where is the force when it comes back into you? Because for every action, there's equal opposite reaction. Where is the return force going, right? So if I don't bow and I go like this, see, and I drop heavy, see, it's kicking into my shoulder, which is making me push away from the thing. Okay, so this gives me information. This tells me, okay, I don't have leverage. So I need to bow and go like this. So now if I really push from the heel, I feel my body pressure really start to smash into my bottom 2-3 knuckles, right? Now I can feel the return, but it's going down towards my heel. I feel the same pressure here in my hand I feel in my heel, right? And that's because I'm connecting or bridging the two, right? Pushing out and pushing down at the same time through my skeletal frame, right? So you're practicing like that. So I go from side to side, right? Weight distribution, angle change, bow and drop. Weight distribution, angle change, bow and drop. Weight distribution, angle change, bow and drop. And I just keep practicing this, right? And now, the good thing about this is that I can put as much body frame and bow into this, and this wall bag's not gonna move, right? Okay, so I can really start to as much body frame as you can and pressure that you can generate, then this is good. Of course, you don't want muscle tension while this is happening, but you will feel your body, like especially your forearm. It will feel, at least to me, my forearm and my calf muscle, the below the knee and above the elbow. I feel these two parts of my body. I feel like they're two springs and they're being compressed like this. So I feel this compression at these two places, right? But it's not, and you want to allow that compression to happen, right? Okay, so you don't want to fight that. If you fight that, then that's going to mean that you're trying to either push out or you're contracting to stop that action, right? Your muscle. And we don't want either one of those right now. Okay, we just want to drop, put the body frame in with the bow, right? And that's going to drop my hand. See, if this wasn't here, then when I bow, like this, my hand would drop, right? Right? But since the wall bag is here, when I do this, right, it can't drop anymore, right? But now I keep bowing and putting as much pressure into there as possible, and I feel it going to my heel. And this is now what I want. I want to really just practice this feeling, right, and this connection, and becoming gap free so that my wrist is protected behind my hand. So what's that? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you're all good, buddy. So what I don't want is as I'm dropping my body mass into my hand, right? Well, what I want is my hand to be protected, right? So the thing is that the more pressure you try to put generate into there, the more your hand's going to want to naturally squeeze, because it's stuck between two walls. So your hand will naturally collapse and squeeze, right? Without you having to actually squeeze your hand like this, which causes your forearm to tense, right? It's just the action is going to compress your hand. The more you put your body frame in and bow, the more pressure you're going to feel in your hand. The more pressure in your hand, the more your hand is going to want to collapse and naturally collapse like this, which protects your hand, right? So you don't have to think about closing your hand, right? The pressure will do it, right? But like I said, just hold an egg, like pretend like you're holding an egg in your hand, right? And then body frame, and that's going to collapse and drop your wrist at the same time. Drop your wrist, and it's going to collapse your hand, right? Your fist, right? And this is good. See, I'm still not punching. I'm just dropping. In other words, I call this action, you're preparing to punch. You're getting ready to punch, right? Everything is lined up to punch, right? But you haven't done the punch, right? So this part of the punch, of the action of the punch, the preparation or the beginning, getting ready to punch, I think it's one of the most neglected parts of the punch. Everyone wants to just do the extension, right? But what you want to do is really harness and practice this part, right? First, right? And if you practice this, action over and over and over again, then it's going to really make a strong punch when you practice the action out, right? So now you're practicing like this. So you can start to move and really start to bow and drop a lot of. So as you go faster, you're going to feel like your hand wants to really drop when you bow, and that's going to cause a lot of force, because now we're adding natural speed to the equation, right? Force equals mass times speed. So I'm using my body mass and natural speed. So now that combination is creating more and more force, which is what we want, and we want to learn how to handle that return. Okay, so initially you want to start slow, to perfect every little action and feel the feedback. And then as that becomes more and more comfortable, then start to drop your mass and get heavy and make the action a little bit faster, right? And that's going to increase the force, right? And make you perfect everything, right? And this is how I practice this, right? Now, another thing you don't want to do is when you do, don't try to. This a lot of people. I see a lot of my students do this. Is if you look over my shoulder, you see the mirror. This is good for you guys to see that. People, they do weight distribution and angle change, right? And they try to do it together. See? You see that? Okay? But if pressure, because you don't know when you're going to actually land the punch. You don't know, right? You can't predict that, okay? But so if you land or if he gives you pressure, that person gives you pressure during the transition from weight distribution to angle change, if pressure's starting to invade you, right? And you try to do the two concepts together, weight distribution and angle change together at the same time, that pressure in the middle is going to knock you backwards, okay? Because you're not going to have a connection to the ground, right? And this is why it's very important to take your time. So, and to make sure that you separate the concepts and master each one, right, without going to the next one. So from here, if somebody's constantly giving you pressure, right, that's feedback, you have to do what? You have to do weight distribution first, right? Then angle change once the weight distribution is good. See? So you see, I'll do it this side. You see I'm moving my weight to my left side. See? Once it's perfect, once the weight distribution is perfect, then you're going to see my whole left side. You can see like a pole, shoulder, hip, knee, heel. It's all like one pole. And then you're going to see that pole rotate. See? So now you still see the pole, right? So I've done the two actions separate. Weight distribution, then angle change. Weight distribution first, then angle change. Weight distribution first, then angle change. Weight distribution first, then angle change. Don't try to do weight distribution and angle change together, because any pressure in the middle of the move is going to knock you off. They're going to attack your balance now, right? So when you're practicing this, make sure you keep that in mind also, right? So weight distribution, angle change, right? Once the weight distribution is perfect, then angle change and drop. Weight distribution and then angle change and bow, which is going to make your hand drop. Weight distribution, angle change, and then bow, right? And if you practice this over and over, right? So what happens is that when people see me do it, my students see me do it, they see me do it quick, right? And they think I'm doing it together, but even if you slowed it down, you'll see I do weight distribution first and then angle change. Weight distribution first and angle change. It doesn't matter if I do it faster, right? I'm still doing weight distribution first, angle change. I'm just now closing I'm just cleaning up the transition from weight distribution to angle change. But it's still, if you slowed it down, I'm still doing weight distribution first, angle change second, right? Okay, so don't do it together. All right, so then practice like this, right? Drop your elbow, right? And bow your body at the, another thing is don't bow your body frame, okay, before you make contact. So you don't want to go like this and then bow. You want to, once your hand drops like this, so there's a small bow, your hand's going to drop. Now comes the bow, the leverage part, and that's going to put a lot of pressure into your hand. All right? Okay, here, and then bow. Drop, bow. Weight distribution, angle change, drop, and now bow your body. And bow your body. Saying the more I bow my body, now I'm getting a lot of pressure into my hand and into my heel, right? You got it? So this is the first step to learning how to punch. And I think it's to me it's one of the most important, right? Okay, so this action, right, of first learning how to drop your mass so that into your elbow, and then it's going to act like a whip, and you're going to feel all that mass going into your hand, which is what you want. You want a heavy hand, like a hammer, right? So this part we can call I think setting the. I think Hawkins used to call this setting the nail, right? Setting the nail, right? So this is setting the nail, right? And then the body is the hammer, right? The fist and the forearm, I consider that the nail, right? So you set the nail, okay? And one of the last things is practice making sure that you stay equal. So you don't want to go, see my shoulders? So you don't want to go weight distribution, angle change, and then now when I bow my body, see how I dip one shoulder higher than the other one, right? This was this is you're not equal anymore, right? So this you got to really pay attention to, right? I used to have this habit a long time ago, and and I still have to like practice, or my body will naturally want, because it feels strong to drop that shoulder, but you don't want to do this, okay? Because then you become only one-sided. What you want is both sides. So if my hands are out of the equation, weight distribution, angle change, right? And now I bow, see both my everything, shoulders, hips, knees, heels, everything is bowing, see? So you see my shoulders, if I do it in front, they're equal. If I do it from one pillar, it's still equal, right? And you got to make sure you keep that. So body, weight distribution, angle change, right? And then from here, a small bow, drop your hand, set the nail, and then the big bow, when you want to apply more pressure, right? You bow, right? That's going to push your more mass into your hand and create more force. Then the big bow, but you make sure your shoulders are equal, right? Don't start doing this, okay? So we're going to continue to practice and talk more about the punch, right? But this is just like the first step, and again, like I talked about, this is what I consider to be the most important step, all right? So practice, and I'll see you guys soon.